Hello friends of the blade and welcome back. Today we are going to spend some minutes on speaking about a topic that I personally like a lot. We're going to consider the axe. And me personally, I even like axes a little bit better than knives, and this means a lot. Well, the axe is really an important invention in mankind in history. I think its history leads way back more than 3,000 years, and the axe can be considered even as important as the invention of the wheel, because the axe was used to cut forests and to build up civilizations and to do forestry as well as agriculture. Well, back in the days of the Vikings, Vikings used to carry axes just as we today carry our EDC folding knives. They carried small axes like this one. This is a cold steel Northhawk, and they carried it in their belt and used it, for instance, for peeling apples or doing everyday stuff, cutting, and so they used their small axes more like knives. Yeah. And one very good recommendation that I can give you is, if you are interested in axes, then the first thing that you should do is to take a look at serious forestry catalogs and serious working tools. This is such a forest axe. The weight of the head is about 1,250 grams, so a little bit more than 1 kilogram. And this is a true workhorse of an axe. It's been used by my father and even my grandfather a lot, so it has cut a lot of timber. And I recently put in this new wood, but the axe head is really old. So a true workhorse of an axe. And my recommendation is beware of catalog pics that advertise zombie axe or modern combat tomahawks, which probably have a fiberglass grip or some kind of artificial plastic grip. And very important is the attachment of the handle to the axe head. It is done like this. The axe head is pushed in with a little bit force. The handle is pushed in the axe head, and then there is a certain gap, and you fill it with another piece of wood and even attach some metal in order to prevent the axe head from flowing away when you chop with it. So, very and most important recommendation, if you are interested in axes, have a look at forestry tools, not as any kind of zombie choppers or such. Anyhow, there is a lot of variation in axes. This is a forest axe, and what we have here is craftsman's axe. It's used to cut to build up timber houses, and this you can recognize easily. If you see, its head is not symmetric, but here's a grip, and this is for a right-handed craftsman, and a craftsman's axe, carpenter's axe, because it's used to cut logs, and therefore we have here a plain edge, and here even the grip is a little bit bent to the right side, so that the carpenter could produce logs that are totally linear. So this is a carpenter's axe. Very cool thing. And I want to say some words about the role of the axe in forestry. Maybe 100 or 120 years ago, forestry, like it was managed in Canada, used the axe, very often double-headed axes, and it was serious and hard work, and for tough guys really. And they went into the Canadian forests, cut the trees with the axes, and the axe in former times had a much wider role. Forestry, like it's done today, or like we do it in Europe, and we have a very long tradition of forestry in Europe, is done in this way. We drive into the forest with a tractor or SUV, and then we choose the tree that we want to cut, or the trees, and fell the trees with a chainsaw. This one is a steel chainsaw, model 36. Very nice, medium-sized chainsaw. So the first step, how we manage forestry or producing timber, is to cut down the tree with a chainsaw. Just an example. Then, after the tree is on the ground, there is the first step where the axe jumps in. Because imagine it's a spruce tree, then the small branches can be cut from the tree with using the axe. Some people prefer to use the chainsaw, but with the axe it goes very fast. Okay, after the cutting of the branches is done and the tree is on the ground, we use a metal chain or a steel cable like this, attach one side to the tree and the other to the tractor, and pull it out of the forest to the street, to the forest street. And there we collect a pile of timber, which is then put with lorries and transported out of the forest. And then later on, if we have it at our city, at our villages, at our houses, we use again the chainsaw to cut it into small sizes. And when you consider you have a piece of wood that's a meter long and has a diameter of, let's say, 40 or 50 centimeters, then this round piece, imagine like this, okay, en miniature, but imagine you have a long log, then you have to split it up into pieces, and this is done by using a hammer, a splitting mort like this. And in order to give additional force, we use this tool, this metal, don't know the English word, this metal plug. So this is attached to the wood, and then it's forced in with the hammer. And it's very important therefore to use this hammer, because this area of the hammer is hardened steel, very important. It's not soft steel, but this is extra hardened. And if you consider the axe, the hammer pawl is hardened, but the axe head is not hardened. So it's not recommendable, or you should avoid, to force in a metal piece like this with your axe head. Don't do it, because you will damage your axe head for sure. There is an interesting option, and that's regarding the cold steel tomahawks. This is a rifleman's hawk, and this special tomahawk has a hardened hammer pawl. So with this you can drive in nails, for instance, because this is a hardened surface. Yeah, the rest is not, but this is hardened, and of course the primary cutting edge is hardened. Yeah, so what's the role of the axe in modern forestry, after we have seen that the chainsaw plays a big role and the pulling out of the forest with a tractor plays a big role? Well, also in modern contemporary times the axe has its function, and that is for producing small firewood. I will show you an example. So if you are in your cabin in the wood and want to produce some wood for your fire, for your campfire, or even for your inner camine, this is the role of the axe, of the workhorse chopping axe. So that's its today function. And for tasks like this, I really recommend an axe with a axe head weight of 1 kilo or 1250 grams. It goes through and it cuts like butter. So, my friends, I now want to point out the difference between the tomahawk and the traditional working axe, the forest working axe. I already explained how the axe head of a forest working axe is attached to the wooden grip. You always use some kind of insert, metal or wood, to fix the head. The idea of a tomahawk is slightly different, because the grip, the wooden grip of a tomahawk, this is hickory grip, it's a cold steel rifleman's hawk, the grip widens at the top. It goes up like this. This means that if you have the single head of the tomahawk, the metal head, you attach it from down below of the grip and slide it up until it can't go any further. That's the concept. What I did here in my personal rifleman's hawk, because I have been throwing with this tomahawk for 5 years now, and the principle of the screw didn't work very well, and very often the head slided down, and when sliding down it put some damage in the axe grip. You can see it here. That come from throwing, and then the axe head gets loose and causes fractions in the grip. And in order to prevent the head from sliding down, I used this simple method and put a paracord around here. Well, it doesn't look very pretty, I agree, but it's functional. I even attached some paracord here. This is just when sliding forward, my fingers notice that there is a paracord and grip better. So it's a very good idea. You can hear it a little bit rattling. So it's not tightened, but well, it fulfills its function. And I even read on blade forums or on outdoor forums that the really hardcore guys, they go for a camping trip for 3 or 4 days in the forest, and they just take with them the head of the tomahawk, not the handle. Once they are in the wood, they produce their own handle. So this is for those freaks who gain minimal weight for carrying this. So, well, what's the idea of the tomahawk? I consider the tomahawk not a serious working tool. That's a working tool. This is not a working tool. The tomahawk has its functions. Can it be used in combat? Yes, it can. It's fast. You can do chops from various angles, and you can change the direction easily. And you can carry it around in your belt, in your backpack, however. So for combat, yes, it can be used. But main function, as far as I consider it, is a sports tool, sporting and recreation piece, because I like to go throwing tomahawk, and for me it's just like throwing darts. I show you. We have here my target aim. Here is a Northhawk. Bad luck. Again with the Northhawk and the rifleman. So these are very nice sports and recreation stuff. I wouldn't recommend throwing a working man's forest axe. It's too heavy, and the handle grip, the form, the design of the handle, I think it's not so good for throwing. It's very good for doing chops, that the axe won't flow out of your hand. Therefore it's good, but not so good for throwing. And one final word regarding the Northhawk. When we speak about combat applications of a tomahawk, the Northhawk is the ultimate combat hawk. Much better than any zombie tomahawk, because, and that's a secret of the ancient Viking axes, it has this upper tip, and you can use it even like a long knife for delivering stabs with this upper edge, and the lower edge you can use for gripping the opponent. The Vikings, they carried their shields and much longer axes, but the principle was to catch the opponent's leg, for instance, with this angle here, and therefore very nice combat axe, combat tomahawk, this one, this Northhawk. And today the tomahawk is always related to North American Indian tribes, but think about the possibility that Vikings shipped with their dragon ships maybe in the 9th century to North America, and they had their axes. What about the idea that the Vikings brought the tomahawk to the Indian people? So it's really a Viking tradition.